After so many false dawns, so many false claims of turning the corner from the most senior of elected officials in the US, that moment may soon be here for real. The tide began turning, it seems, when the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were authorised for use back in December. Now comes a third vaccine. A panel of experts which advises the Food and Drug Administration has revised data from Johnson & Johnson and has found their vaccine appears to be safe and effective. It also meets the criteria for emergency use authorisation and could be given the go-ahead within days. It requires just a single dose and protects against severe cases as well as asymptomatic infections, which means the chances of transmission are greatly reduced. It comes as the daily death toll of the United States from the virus has fallen dramatically. This month alone, the 7-day average down by more than a third. Hospital admissions have more than halved. Daily cases also down by almost 60%. And the CDC has lowered its forecast for projected deaths in the coming weeks. We have more now from CNN's Amra Walker.
A third vaccine on the horizon in the U.S.
We will waste no time getting this life-saving vaccine into the arms of Americans.
The Food and Drug Administration announcing today the Johnson & Johnson vaccine meets requirements for emergency use authorization, which could come as early as Friday. The White House COVID task force on Wednesday saying they've already started preparing for distribution.
If authorized, we are ready to roll out this vaccine without delay. If an EUA is issued, we anticipate allocating 3 to 4 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine next week.
But that's less than what the White House was originally expecting.
We were surprised to learn that Johnson & Johnson was behind on their manufacturing. As you noted, it was kind of reported earlier to be about 10 million, and now it's more like 3 to 4 million doses that they would be ready to ship next week.
Experts say they expect the potential third vaccine to expand access and get more people vaccinated faster because it's a single dose.
My suspicion is that it's going to start with those people who are lower risk for severe disease to begin with. So people without comorbidities, people who are younger, the general population.
Vaccine maker Johnson & Johnson told Congress Tuesday they're ready for the rollout.
We will have 20 million doses of the vaccine to be made available by the end of March.
Adding to the 220 million doses that Pfizer and Moderna have pledged to make ready for shipment in the same time frame after some initial delays in manufacturing.
We did initially experience some problems with the initial ramp up of our vaccine.
Record vaccine supply is getting to states this week, and the White House is encouraging sites to be open 24 hours a day. To get more shots in arms, the task force says they will mobilize 1,200 National Guardsmen to serve as vaccinators. Even with progress on the vaccine front, the White House today also announcing they will distribute 25 million masks beginning next month to get them to some of the most vulnerable.
Many low-income Americans still lack affordable access to this basic protection.
And Dr. Anthony Fauci announced the National Institutes of Health would be supporting research looking at people experiencing long-term COVID-19 symptoms or long haulers after new data sheds some light on the toll it takes.
Approximately 30% of the patients who were enrolled at the University of Washington reported persistent symptoms for as long as 9 months after illness.
Now, Moderna has designed an updated vaccine. It is evaluating a booster shot and a primary vaccine that would combat the South African variant. Doses of it have been shipped to the NIH for a clinical study. Now, they're looking at 3 approaches to the South African variant. First, a booster shot of half of a dose of the current COVID-19 vaccine. Number 2, a booster shot of a new vaccine made specifically for the South African variant. And lastly, a booster shot that combines current and the new vaccine into one. In Hapeville, Georgia, Amaral Walker, CNN.
Well, for more, CNN medical analyst Dr. Celine Gounder is with us this hour. So, Dr. Gounder, welcome back. Good to see you.
Great to see you, John.
Okay, there's a lot of reason for optimism with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's a single dose. It can be easily stored. It has high efficacy. It's effective against the variants of the coronavirus. So how big will the impact actually be, both, I guess, in the United States and around the world?
The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is really remarkable in that, just like the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, in clinical trials, it has been shown to be 100% effective in preventing hospitalization and death from COVID once you wait a 28-day period after vaccination. And that 28-day period is important because no vaccine is going to take effect instantaneously. It does take time for your immune system to see the vaccine, to respond to it, and to develop an immune response. But after that 28-day post-vaccination, it is a highly effective vaccine, 100% effective against hospitalizations and death. And where it's an advance over the prior vaccines is that this is a vaccine that does not require ultra-cold storage, and you only need one dose. And so this makes it much easier to scale up and deliver around the world.
Well, there are now about, a dozen vaccines in use globally. So if someone has a choice, say, for example, if they say, hey, here's the Pfizer vaccine, which uses the new mRNA genetic code technology, or hey, here's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is kind of old school, all things being equal, what would you advise them to take?
My number one message to viewers would be the vaccine that's for you is the vaccine that's available to you first.
What if they both come at the same time?
Whatever you can get your hands on first, honestly, is the best vaccine for you. I think there are some very slight differences. There are certain people who may have had allergic reactions to some of the components of polyethylene glycol in the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, so maybe that's not an option for them, but that's a very rare circumstance. So for the vast majority of people, really, it is whatever you can get your hands on first.
Here's a little more on the findings by that FDA advisory panel. The efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine against moderate to severe critical COVID-19 across all geographic areas was 66.9% at least 14 days after the single dose vaccination, 66.1% at least 28 days after vaccination, which is pretty much what Johnson & Johnson announced more than 3 weeks ago. Their trials found the vaccine was 66% effective overall in preventing moderate to severe COVID-19 28 days after vaccination, and the similarities go on and on and on. Why did the FDA panel wait so long to review the data from Johnson & Johnson and make this recommendation?
Well, look, I mean, we're talking about thousands of pages of data that they have to review. And so really all of the work has been done in advance of the meeting. And that's really more of a formality of them meeting together and saying, OK, this is what we thought of the data when we reviewed it. But you don't review thousands of pages of data carefully and thoroughly in a day. That does take time. So I think this is really a testament to the fact that they are adhering to the normal gold standard of how to review a vaccine as urgent as all of this is.
It just seems that 3.5 weeks, when there's 2,000 people dying on average every day, just seems like an incredible amount of time to wait, or just to, before there is this authorization.
Yeah, honestly, I think we should be that much more trusting of the process, understanding that it has been, these vaccines are being vetted thoroughly. And so we can truly have faith in the safety and efficacy of these vaccines.
Okay, so now that we have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which I think is actually it's not in as, the supplies are a lot more limited than the White House originally thought. Where does it go from here? When will that ramp up? Do you know what the time frame will be? What are they looking at here?
Yeah, so we're looking at immediate release of about 3 to 4 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, assuming the FDA issues emergency use authorization. And then following that, probably looking at 20 million doses of that vaccine by April or so, and then 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine delivered to the U.S. by July or so. But the Johnson & Johnson company has promised about 1 billion doses for the worldwide market of its vaccine. And so I think it's not just about the U.S. This is really, truly a game-changing vaccine for the entire world.
Dr. Celine Gounder, thank you. Good to see you.